You started the business 4.5 years ago, and now you are at this point where you can merge it all together. But I can imagine it wasn't maybe smooth sailing from the beginning. Would I be right in assuming that?
It was absolutely not smooth sailing. And the best things typically aren't, right? The best things we typically experiment, learn, iterate, and improve. And for me, those iterations came from really watching and listening to others, and then watching and listening to myself. So I think for the first year, I spent all of my time navigating what does it mean to actually start a business, and how do I formalize this practice, and what are all of the things that I need to put in place, the systems and processes and structures, and how do those experienced entrepreneurs do it? And then I took what worked for me from each of them and wove a new fabric that works for me. So many of them talk about time blocking. Spend 30% of your time working in the business, spend 30% of your time working on the business, spend 30% of your time researching and product development. And I need it to be more fluid than that. Right? There are times that I am totally entrenched in the business. There are times when I am totally inspired to do the research and writing. There are times when there is a groundswell of things to do to work on the business. So it's a little more fluid for me, but it has taken 4 years for me to recognize and appreciate and leverage that versus fighting against it, because that's not what we see, or how we see it being done, or how we think it needs to be done.
Yeah, I think that's very important, to give yourself permission to do it in a way that works for you, because there is so much advice out there, and some of it is good and it works for some people, but it doesn't work for everyone. And to believe that that's the only way that it could be done, and to try and force that onto yourself and your business and your circumstances, is a mistake. And I also love that you've been so honest to say, well, it's taken me 4 years to get to this point, because I want people who are listening to this to manage their expectations in a way, and know what to expect if they are going to start a coaching business as a side gig, right? As something that they do whilst they are still employed. And for some people it might take longer, and others might find the balance a lot sooner. But it's the awareness that comes with it, and the permission to simply wait and to allow it to come to fruition whenever that happens, not to force it and not to beat yourself up because of it.
And I think, Alisa, one of the things that I use with my clients a lot that has been helpful for me as well when I think about myself as the entrepreneur is micro experiments. Right? Try something, see what you learned, revise, refine, and try again. Right? That's what I've been doing, but it takes that pause and reflection to actually recognize what it is you are experiencing. Right? So
Absolutely.
The frustration that I experienced from trying to time block, for example, right? I was really trying to do that for a period of time. And for me, it felt so regimented and so structured. And I know for a plethora of people, that is a huge benefit.
Yeah.
For me, it didn't work.
Yeah. I include myself in that category. I time block and it works for me.
It works.
Yeah.
And so go with that, because it gives you energy. When you notice yourself being depleted from energy, stop and try and figure out why. What's going on for me? And what do I need to shift? And these can be micro shifts. What do I need to shift in order to regain my energy so that I have more to give to the things I want to do?
That's the whole point, isn't it? I didn't have that flexibility. It was only in the evenings, and that's why I had to be so regimented and block my time. Lisa, what do you find to be the hardest thing about running a business whilst being employed?
So I'll give you the what do I think is the hardest thing about running a business, and then
Okay.
I'll layer on while being employed. So for me, it is working on the business versus working in the business. Right? In the business is my sweet spot. That's where the magic happens. On the business is new and nuanced for me. Right? And so I am learning how to leverage people for whom that is their sweet spot, or I am learning how to leverage technology to ease the burden of being a business owner.
Yeah.
I think the complexity of having a full-time job, particularly a full-time job where I'm actually leading something that reports directly to a board, that reports directly to the university, so it's high visibility, high pressure. It is about self-care. I think that's the toughest lesson I've had to learn while bringing both of these things together, is that the only person who is driving me as hard as I'm being driven is me. And why? Right?
Yeah.
If I'm creating Dragonfly as a space where I have the ability to be flexible, to have this life that I want to live, and to be able to demonstrate and role model for the people that I am coaching that it is possible, then I better well think about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. That's
Yeah.
been a tough lesson to face.
And how, well, what did you do about it? Tell us more about how you managed to balance your work as an employee, your business, and also having a family and a personal life.
I think actually it's the reverse order that I finally learned.
Yeah.
Right? It's that I have a life, and if my life is being attended to, I have more capacity for my family and friends, for my business, for my job. And that has been, again, really looking at and being very reflective about and honest with myself about what is and isn't working for me.
To understand those priorities in the order in which you have listed them and act accordingly. A lot of people, when they start a business, whether they are employed or not, they put that on as a first priority, and they start to work so much on it, they don't really realize that all of the other things, including their lives, need some attention, and the people in their lives. And if you let that slip, well, what's the point of having a successful business if you are not a happy person outside of your business, in your personal life? So I think that's super, super important.
That's the question I always keep in front of myself. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this is to be able to have more flexibility and more quality time and more connection than running at this hare's pace doesn't accomplish that. So how do I be more thoughtful about what I'm trying to do and how and when? You know, I had a meeting yesterday with the chair and the vice chair of the center's board, and we talked about the strategic plan and the growth opportunities that we have set out. And the chair and the vice chair said to me, reminded me that we're not even beginning to look at some of these things until 2023.
Yep.
So stop. Right? You don't need, because we've talked about it, because we've agreed to it, because it's been approved, does not mean that we need to jump and start running as fast as we can.
I think sometimes we know these things intellectually, but if someone else reminds us of them, that's even better. And we need that reminder every once in a while.
I think having accountability partners is one of the best things an entrepreneur can do. I met with one of my accountability partners earlier this week, and we talked about the fact that by the time we get together next month, we are going to lay out Q3 and Q4. What do we want to accomplish writ large, not just with the business, but with self-care, with family, with friends, and how do we hold each other accountable for that?
So since you touched on that, and since your work is around helping people define what success means for themselves and helping them achieve it. Share with us, what does success look like when it comes to your coaching business? What do you consider a successful coaching business in the context in which you are now with your own circumstances?
Okay. So for me, success for Dragonfly is that I am working with individuals who want to do the work, which is a very different paradigm when you are first starting off your business. When you're first starting off your business, there's that bit of fear that I have to take all comers. Right? If someone comes to me and says that they want coaching, I need to say yes, because I don't know whether the next person is ever going to show up or not.
Yeah.
And what I have learned is that there are a certain group of people for whom I am the right coach. And it becomes a win-win experience. And it gives me energy. That's what I want to do. Right? Do I have financial targets? Of course. Do I have aspirations for how I want to grow and evolve the business beyond one-to-one coaching? Absolutely. And those things are waiting while I still have a full-time job.
And it's interesting, you did say it's a change of paradigm, and it is, because what you're saying is, for every person that I would accept, that's not the ideal person that I would like to work with, that is a missed opportunity for me to work with someone that I would love to work with. But I am letting go of that opportunity to instead work with anyone who knocks at my door, because I'm afraid that no one else will want to. But you are kind of past that stage now. And I think that's very good advice for people who are only just starting off now. You don't have to work with everyone.
Right. And sometimes when you're first starting out, I know I learned a lot about who I wanted to work with from who I was working with. Right? So being able to say, something about this engagement doesn't sit well with me, but I'm going to use it as an opportunity to learn and refine. Right? Not that I am being subversive with my client by any means. They are still going to get the absolute best of me that I have to offer.
Of course.
But I'm going to be paying attention to myself. Right? What about that engagement? Do I look forward to appointments with that person when I see them on my calendar? Is it an engaging dialogue? Do I feel like they are walking off of the call feeling like they've gotten what they need, feeling like they have a path forward? Or do I feel like it took a lot of my energy to get through that call? So it's paying attention, and then it is in and of itself the micro experiment. How do you continue to refine? I'm not one of those proponents of create your avatar of who you're looking for. But I do believe that there are attributes that create alignment, that make it a good fit.
Now that you've told us a little bit about how you balance everything and, your view of what a successful business looks like, for the purpose of an example, let's say, so that people can understand a little bit better, could you share with us what an average working day in your life would look like?
Sure. So there are certain tenets that are whole and true regardless of the day. I begin my day with a 20-minute workout. I am a Buddhist. I spend 45 minutes in the morning and probably 15 minutes in the evening chanting, centering myself, really focusing on what it is I want to, what do I want to bring to the day? And then my day starts somewhere between 9 and 9:30 in the morning. I would say I usually have somewhere between 5 and 10 meetings a day. Of those meetings, 1 or 2 may be coaching calls on a typical day. And I wrap up my calls typically around 5:30, dinner with my family. And then probably around 7:30 or 8, I will pick back up and just do some of the work on the business, whether the business is the center or coaching or both, to stay on top of things. My weekends, for the most part, I really hold dear for my family and my friends and myself.
Yeah.
If I want to read a book, if I want to go to the beach for a couple of hours, I really try not to schedule the weekends.
So those meetings, you said it can be up to 10 of them, which is, wow. I assume that some of them might be quick 10 to 15-minute meetings.
It could be meeting with one of the interns in the center to help give them direction and clarity. It could be a meeting with, like I said yesterday, with my chair and vice chair of the board to clarify next steps and where we're headed for the next board year. So I think for me, the nice thing, and you heard this earlier when we talked about time blocking, I love variety. So for me, the neat thing is I can look at any day on my calendar and see so many different aspects of what I'm doing.
Given that your day is so full, and some of those meetings are also, coaching meetings, then you stop until 7:30 and then you pick it back up. Is that when you would work to attract clients or do some marketing or promotion or networking or whatever it is?
It could be writing a blog. It could be writing up my notes from the client if I didn't have time to do it during the day. It could be catching up on some of the emails from either of the businesses. It could be sending out invitations for different events and things that I want to be involved in, or responding to invitations to be on podcasts and things like that.
And how many clients can you accommodate at any one time?
That's a great question. When I envisioned doing this business full time, I had said that I wanted to have 10 clients at any given time. I have been incredibly fortunate. I started the business 4.5 years ago, that for the past 3 years, I have been north of that number. Now, I say fortunate because I've got a great clientele that I work with. I have become clear in this past year that no new clients until clients wrap up. So I've actually reduced the number of clients that I'm working with because I've recognized the toll that trying to do 2 full-time jobs has been having on me. Right? So it's a wonderful place to be in. And I think the awesome piece is I know so many great coaches. So when someone comes to me and says, I'm ready and I want to work with you, and I say, my next opening is probably not for another 3 months, but I know 3 people that I can recommend you to. And I feel comfortable making that recommendation.
That's a wonderful place to be in, isn't it?
And that's a place of abundance and not fear.
Yeah.
Right? I don't worry that if I give away that client, everything's going to dry up. I trust that I'm doing the right things and putting the right pieces in place, that the business will continue.
And it does, because those people that you have referred business to will now look out for you as well and refer someone to you if they can't take it on or it's not a great fit.
Yeah, and that's the other wonderful thing about even in the engagement calls, even in the discovery calls, is being able to say to someone, you're interviewing me as well as I'm interviewing you. And if I'm not the right fit for you and you want to do the work, I'm going to help you find the right fit.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Very different conversation.
Yeah, because the center of the conversation is how can we help you move forward one way or another, whether it's with me or with someone else. And you're right. It has to come from a place of abundance for you to be able to do that and to have that attitude.
Yeah.
So
it's been a big shift.
It is. It's a huge shift. And sadly, some people never make that shift. But hopefully everyone who is listening to this is considering making that shift, because it creates such a community around you of colleagues that you respect and you give business to, and they do the same with you. And even if they don't, maybe they don't have enough inquiries to send you business, they will be grateful, and they will treat you like a colleague that they appreciate no matter what. And you treat them the same, given that you're sending them business. But maybe, this is a topic for a different conversation, is you have to also be sure that you have vetted those people and you trust them enough that they do good work. And that also comes from creating these relationships beforehand and getting to trust someone and to know them. So that's very important.